What do you say to the men who don't raise their voice to be remembered? Men whose influence isn't loud enough to trend, but strong enough to linger. Men who slip into your memory not because the world screamed their name, but because something familiar in them never left you. For my generation, at the superstar scale, that man is Usher. It's strange. We remember his songs, we imitate his runs, we dance through whole summers because of him. And still somehow, we never quite know where to put him. He's too big to call underrated, too important to call forgotten, too consistent to call comeback ready, and too clean to fit the narratives we glorify today. He did everything right, and that's why he went invisible. The psychology of smooth, and why we mistook mastery for simplicity. The human mind overvalues visible struggle, maybe for entertainment's sake. We trust the artists who fell apart and rebuilt. We glorify the broken genius. We worship the redemption story. But the man who never collapsed, the man who stayed grounded, the man who avoided disaster instead of surviving it, we don't know how to celebrate him. Usher didn't give us crisis. He didn't give us meltdowns or villain acts. He didn't implode on TMZ. He didn't use chaos for visibility. He grew smoothly in a culture addicted to dysfunction. Smooth starts to look simple. But simplicity isn't the absence of depth. It's the evidence of mastery. Usher didn't hide his storms. He regulated them. And emotional regulation looks like invisibility to overstimulated eyes. That's the psychology of why we lost sight of him. The talent we haven't seen. Dancing like water has memory. Most people praise his voice. Most people remember his catalog. But what really sets him apart is something deeper. He moves like the music is happening inside his bones. Usher doesn't dance, he glides. Chris Brown explodes. Beyonce entertains. Omarion pockets. But Usher is precision. Every slide, every lean, every turn is a conversation with the rhythm. It's not athleticism, it's literacy. He reads the beat the way some people read intention. Watch any performance. The man doesn't sweat skill, he sweats control. Smoothness is his native language, and smoothness is the thing our culture has lost the ability to see. If Michael Jackson was lightning, Usher is water. Fluid, inevitable, timeless, and like water, people only notice his brilliance when they're thirsty. The peer problem. He's everyone's peer and somehow no one's. Usher's greatest disadvantage is something that would be a blessing for anyone else. He fits into too many categories at once. People compare him to Michael Jackson because of the dancing, to Chris Brown because of the dancing, to R. Kelly because of the R&B dominance, to Justin Timberlake because of the crossover, to Beyonce because of the longevity. But none of those comparisons are exact. He sits between all of them at once. Too soulful for pop, though he tried. Too polished for hip-hop. Too stable for the tortured genius archetype. Too versatile for the R&B purist box. He's a puzzle piece that fits everywhere but completes no picture. And that odd limbo-like placement makes him harder for the culture to categorize, which means harder to mythologize. The world doesn't know how to celebrate a man who belongs everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Two legends, one narrative gap. Why don't we talk about this? Beyonce gets treated like a living legend in real time. Every reinvention, every era, every performance gets labeled historic instantly. And Usher, he came up at that same time, dominated the same era, carried R&B and pop with the same consistency, never had a dead decade, never lost the room, never fell off. If longevity is the metric, he's her closest peer. But culturally, we don't speak about him the same way. Why? Because Beyonce built myth. Usher built atmosphere. Her brilliance is condensed. Miss this moment and is gone. His brilliance is felt. Sensation forgotten. And we reward whatever we can categorize. We praise whatever we can name. But it's hard to name a man who's defined an era's entire mood. Usher isn't a headline. Usher checks the temperature. And temperature gets taken for granted until something feels off. The longevity that became invisible. Usher has one of the cleanest, longest, most stable careers any R&B artist has ever had. Name another who debuted as a teen, dominated as an adult, transitioned into multiple eras, had no cultural exile, had no embarrassing collapse, still performs at the top of his craft, still charts, still tours, still matters. There aren't many names. There might be one, but consistency just doesn't trend. It doesn't spark discourse. It doesn't create easy narratives. A man who never crashes out never gets a comeback story. And without a comeback story, people assume nothing worth celebrating happened. But real greatness is often in the man who never lets himself fall in the first place. Masculinity without performance. The rarest form today. When you watch Usher, you see a man who never needed to perform masculinity to feel masculine. He didn't equate volume with authority. He didn't confuse dominance with desirability. He didn't weaponize confidence. He didn't turn charm into manipulation. He didn't wear an ego like a false armor. He walked with a masculinity that didn't require explanation. Today, we're surrounded by men who feel the need to showcase strength instead of embodying it. Usher doesn't posture. He doesn't tense his shoulders to prove something. He doesn't take up space to feel big. He doesn't bully the room with presence. He simply stands in who he is, and the room adjusts. But the modern eye, trained by spectacle, mistakes stillness for softness, and softness for weakness, and weakness for irrelevance. This is the psychology that failed them. On our side. The romance we don't know how to value anymore. Another reason he slips out of the conversation, Usher came from a time where romance wasn't ironic. He wasn't afraid of tenderness. He didn't hide emotion behind detachment. He didn't treat intimacy like a liability. He sang like he believed in connection. He danced like emotion was a language. He moved like love wasn't something to be ashamed of, and that version of male expression feels foreign today, especially to younger men raised inside emotional fatigue. But women remember that energy. Men miss that energy. And younger people crave it without knowing what they're craving. Usher embodied a warmth the world has slowly forgotten how to make. Why the world is coming back to men like him? Something is shifting again. People are tired. Tired of loud men. Tired of performative masculinity. Tired of emotional instability. Tired of drama as identity. Tired of spectacle as personality. Tired of leaders who can't regulate themselves. We're entering a moment where calm feels powerful again. Where emotional intelligence feels attractive again. Where steadiness feels rare enough to admire. Where ease feels like maturity and not weakness. Usher didn't change. Our emotional maturity is finally catching up. He's not the legend we forgot. He's becoming the legend we will finally understand. The man in the middle of his own legacy. Beyond catalog, beyond the performances, beyond the myth we never gave him, there's a man who navigated fame in a way very few have. He kept his dignity. He kept his discipline. He kept his self-awareness. He kept his craft sharp when the world moved on to distractions. Most artists survive eras. Usher threaded them. He's the bridge between analog performance and digital performance, between pre-internet artistry and social era visibility, between soulful intimacy and pop spectacle. He mastered the old world and adapted to the new one without losing himself. That alone makes him singular. The return of a man who never left. Usher didn't fade, he didn't disappear, he didn't fall off. We just didn't have the emotional clarity to understand what he represented. But now, in a culture overwhelmed by noise and hungry for something real, his presence becomes all too recognizable. We finally see the psychology behind why we lost him. We confused steadiness with simplicity and mastery with routine, but the reality stays the same. Usher was never underrated. He was underrecognized. He was undercategorized. He was understudied. And now, with the world finally quieting down enough to feel again, we realize the obvious. He wasn't the man we forgot. He was the man we weren't mature enough to appreciate. Maybe because he was too accessible.
So you're not?
No.
Easy, boys.
Okay, I see.
Sweet little ditty, I don't mean to hurt you, baby. Oh, no, no.